I don't think there's anything wrong with a stereotype. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason because they are true. When portraying anything, honestly, there is like a degree of exaggeration. And it's also a generation that talks about, oh, be kind to each other, mental wellness, cancel culture, fat shaming, you can't use that word, oh, these are my pronouns. So on one hand, you say all these things, and on the other hand, you're like, oh, hate your jokes, not funny, joke kahan hai? You know, like just shit like this.
She's witty, she's fearless, and she's everyone's favorite curly-haired, sari-wearing VJ turned comedy queen. On this episode of the Expressions podcast, we sit down with the one and only Anu Menon, also known to the world as Lola Kutty, actor, stand-up comedian, and pop culture icon. From rocking Channel V with her unapologetic South Indian swag to owning the stage and screen with her sharp humor and honesty, Anu gets real about staying authentic, breaking stereotypes, and why doing you is the ultimate power move. Get ready for laughs, truth bombs, and a whole lot of nostalgia.
Hi, Anu.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful I get to do this with you. Let's begin by asking how's ANCool been and what are the responses? How are you feeling about for the tour?
So I finished the last phase of, this first bit of touring yesterday at Bangalore, and I think it was a great way to end the tour, great city to end the tour. I shot my special here in my first special in 2019. So it was a nice homecoming. It was a fantastic audience. And I think Bangalore is I've always felt an incredible comedy audience,
Yeah.
They're very giving, they're very generous with their laughs and their appreciation. So it was good. I had a lot of young people in the audience it was actually a 15-plus show, and they were like two babies. And I was like, wow, we're starting early. They're going to learn a lot of things that they didn't, bargain for. But it's been a huge learning curve. I'm also touring after a long time. And as you know, when you're a mother, you have so many more things to juggle. And a lot of people, like venue managers and showrunners have said that, Anu, your audience is so different from other comedy audiences because a lot of older people come for my shows.
Okay.
And they're like, it's actually very refreshing for me that whether they recall me from Lola or they feel that, oh, she's a clean comedian or she doesn't swear much and therefore it's a more family-friendly fare. Like you have to be at least 30, I think, to appreciate my show because, I talk about marriage and kids and, spouses and in-laws and parents and stuff. So, I'm very heart happy, Yeah.
Nice to know that. So in my memory, I think your work is one of the earliest example of popular satire by a female comic in post-liberalization India. And you still continue to do that till date. Why do you think this is an important medium of communication?
You don't overthink what you're doing. You just do it. It worked, and at different phases in your life, you are a different person. So I think stand-up would be as close to who you are authentically at that stage in your life.
Yeah.
Because even you are a case in evolution, right? So who I was back in my first special is probably not who I am today. I hope there has been evolution in writing and craft and movement and, things like that. I feel like we have to find creative ways of expressing what we think. And I always believe that stand-up works because people in the audience either empathize with what you're saying, they've gone through the same experience, or you've shown them a whole new world that they didn't know existed and therefore they find that funny.
Yeah.
But most jokes, according to me, are rooted in the truth. And that's where people respond.
Yeah.
Because the basis is the truth.
Yeah.
Of course they're jokes. Of course they're embellished. Of course they're exaggerated. But I think because it comes from a place of authenticity, people respond. If it's inauthentic, the audience can call you out on it. See, I always believe I'm not trying to change the world one joke at a time. Right. I just want my audience to come and have fun.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I have to talk truth to power. I have to do this, I have to do that. I don't. I'm at a very basic level. I'm here to entertain. And I want to do that the best way I can in a way that I'm comfortable with and I know that my audience is comfortable with.
Absolutely. So from starting off as a thespian to becoming one of the finest stand-up comedian, how would you describe your journey in one word?
Stressful. No, it has been quite magical because like I said, it's a kind of profession where you actually can't plan anything. You don't know what's around the corner, right? You don't know what offers will suddenly pop up. Like I could be free for 2 weeks and I could work nonstop for a month, so it's sort of also erratic. So you have to make peace with the fact that this is what you've chosen and this is how it's going to be, right?
Sure.
And once you have a family and a child, it's a question of just juggling really intensely and with passion, You have to make peace with the fact that you're always not going to be perfect. Like I always tell my kid, I'm not perfect. I will fall and I will fail. And when I do, I will apologize. If I'm wrong, I do apologize to you. I don't want my son believing that his parents are infallible or they're perfect, because I'm also learning on the job. It's my first time as a parent, right? So I'm going to make mistakes. But when I do, I will apologize to you.
And when Lola Kutty came your way, what was your first reaction? And how did you build this character? Did theatre training help you?
It didn't come my way in the sense I created this character when I was a Channel V, because after Stella Maris, you're also from Stella Maris, in Chennai after college, I went to do my master's in London in drama. And the plan was always to move to Bombay, find a job that would sustain my theatre habit and do a play that travels the world. That was my very humble ambition. I actually got a job at the Times of India when I first went. And then I thought, no, I'll be working really late hours. How will I go for theatre rehearsal? I met a bunch of people who worked at Star TV and I went to Channel V and they said, okay, do an audition. And when I did an audition, Gaurav Kapoor, who was Sabije, was shooting his show. And during the break, I was doing the audition. And then he really liked what I did. And so he told the boss, Amar Dev at the time, I think you should check out this girl. And then they were like, okay, you're cool and funny, come hang with us. I was like, cool, I'll hang, but I have to think of something to do. So I think it was a strange phase where no one believed in the office that I was from the South. So, and I was not cut out to be cool. I was not cut out to say, yo, check it out, coming up next and stuff. So I thought how fun it would be to be a character, someone that you wouldn't expect to see on a music channel that's associated at the time with all things cool. So it took, they were taking a huge risk as well, right? Because they were giving her this very Doordarshan sort of setup and feel and vibe. And so they took a huge risk with it, and luckily it paid off. But of course, at that time, you had to look funny in order to be funny.
Yeah.
So when I created this character, they said, put glasses and all on her. She has to look like, So there was a time when for Channel V parties, I would not be allowed inside. Because they're like, who's this chick, madam? मतलब अब कहाँ से आई है प्राइवेट पार्टी चल रही है प्लीज जाइए यहाँ से आई वाज लाइक नो मैं यहाँ पे काम करती हूँ.
And you made the seemingly plain and South Indian ethnic look so popular in terms of Lola's costumes and look. So did you get great responses from the audience around the country?
Look, at that time, people had to really take, it's not like now they find you on Instagram and they message you that they love you or they hate you, right? Then you had to take effort.
Yeah.
There was a PO box, you had to write a letter, you write it on an email. So I got a lot of messages from people who said that, I used to be very embarrassed about my accent or my curly hair or the way I looked. And you've made it cool. And now everyone in my college or my school called me Lola, and suddenly I'm the bee's knees, and I have you to thank for that. So I always thought that was very sweet. I think the best compliment I got was from a gentleman in Gujarat who said that every time I have a bad day at work, I come back home and I put on the television and I watch Lola Kutty and I think, okay, all is right with the world again. I thought that was very sweet. Of course, when I did plays, I was doing a play, I remember I was playing Sarojini Naidu, and it was a play about Gandhiji. I went on stage as Sarojini Naidu giving this impassioned speech about freedom and independence and, Indianness. And from the crowd, they're like, Are, that's Lola Kutty na? From the hi, my God, geez, that looks so different. In the midst of, this twist with destiny. I was like, my God. And a lot of people still remember things that I have completely forgotten, because everyone, I think, associates it, the character with the time in their lives when they were young, and it's almost nostalgic for them, Yeah. So that character is responsible for people's nostalgia. Yeah.
And do people still recognize you as Lola Kutty, and do you get bored of that? And is there another set of audience for your new avatar, Vigil Aunty?
No, I don't. I mean, you can never resent something that you created, right? So it's always lovely and refreshing that people do. But of course, you have to be of a certain... Like I went for Lollapalooza recently with my son because he was a big fan of Shawn Mendes. And of course, there are lots of people, like young people, say about 24 or 21 or whatever, will come up to me and say, my God, ma'am, so nice to see you because, you take me back to my childhood and I used to watch you all the time. And so I was like, shit, I'm in that ma'am phase of my life, right? Because that's how it is. It's weird because a lot of people sometimes come for a show thinking, oh, you should have added more Mallu-ness in your bits or whatever. But I'm like, I'm not that person. When I'm Lola, I will do a lot more. You can't control what you feel like writing about, right? It also has to fit into an entire theme. So if my current show is about being uncool, about growing up when I was not a very cool person, all the stories have to fit around that. So just because I can do a French accent or a Mallu accent, zabardasti se I'm not going to add it because it doesn't fit in the whole, thematic appeal of the show.
Yeah. And does Lola Kutty leak out in real life? Do you act or speak like her while doing your daily business?
No, not at all. Like there is a demarcation, but I always say, like I say in my show also, that my husband always feels that when I come back to the south of India, when I go home to Chennai, that my accent completely changes. He's like, I don't know what it is. And I was like, listen, you're just imagining things. And then a friend of mine, I sent her a voice message and she replied and she said, Menon, I mean, I'm not being rude. It's just an observation, but you're sounding very Chennai. And then I heard myself and I was like, my God, she's right. Because, the things you say also change, I'm just chumma sending off on high, okay? She's like, who are you? But my favorite is always, I still did. Something and all she's saying. Somewhere and all they're going. So they're like, who is saying? Who is going? No, also because growing up in Chennai, Bangalore is always the cooler place, right? The better looking guys, the cooler pubs, the restaurants to hang out at. And so the only thing we had in this war was like, hey, please, okay, at least Chennai has one beach. And we have Rajnikant. That's all we had going for us. Yeah.
Well said. So do you think the original Lola Kutty was heavy, exaggerated, typical representation of South Indians, and she would have survived in the current cancel culture climate?
I don't think there's anything wrong with a stereotype. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason because they're true, right? So if I had to play a traditional Malayali girl from either, say, Kozhikode or whatever, and from a conservative family, I cannot look like me and sound like me. That would be ridiculous. So you have to place her in that social milieu, in a construct that would define who she is and where she's coming from. Is it exaggerated? Of course it is, right? But let's not pretend that the way we speak our regional language does not seep into the way we speak English. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like when French people say, oh, you are so beautiful, we're like, oh my God, so sexy. But when Guju will say constipation, felicitation, congratulations, and we're like, gee, so down market. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's anything to shy away from. If we sound like that, we sound like that. What the hell? Like, we have so many different languages that we speak. And I think that's all right. When portraying anything, honestly, there is like a degree of exaggeration. This, like, cancel culture is an interesting thing. I look at people who are cancelled for what? Like a week and a half and then it's all back to normal. Right? So it's an intense week and a half where it's all bad and you think your world is ended. And then you bounce back. And as far as today, then I would have gone the social media route, right? She would have been a character on Instagram that would have... Because we had a lot of restrictions as well at the time. There's a lot of SNP. Now there's so much more freedom to say whatever. Then you can't talk about this. I couldn't even mention a Yashraj's song. They said you can't even say that because, you'll have to pay. There are rights and you can't make fun of Randeep Hooda. And I was like, what can I talk about?
But also she was a no-nonsense strict character. I think she herself would have so many strong thoughts about this topic, all of which she would have spoken wagging her finger, right? Wouldn't she?
She used to interview stars. I think the appeal was what? She was an everyman, right? She wasn't a celebrity, but she was a normal person interviewing a celebrity. And therefore, she asked normal questions that all of us would like to know. How much tax did you pay? Or do you believe in aliens? There weren't that many fun celebrity interviews. So they just used to do interviews like, aapke picture ke baare mein bataiye na. And then, they're like, okay, my film is about this. Whereas I think with Lola, it was a refreshing change. Also because she looked the way she did, like, I'll make everyone else look good. So, aesthetically, it would go very well for the Bollywood star. So I think she made no apologies for who she was or how she sounded or what she looked like. I remember once Prahlad Kakkar actually believed that I was Lola Kutty. Like, she actually, because I couldn't get out of character in the first couple of seasons. So they actually believed that I came from Kozhikode and I was living with my uncle and aunt, and they were like, listen, bichari, poor thing, just take her out, show her the sights and sounds of Bombay, give her a haircut, be nice. So, yeah.
Did you let them know, correct them later?
Towards like the third season, I could break character, but it was a lot for them. For me also, just to stay in it, for so long. Yeah,
I'm sure. Lola Kutty was an iconic Channel V personality. So if she had to interview the influencers today, what would she ask?
I wish I was born in your time. I'd make a lot more money. My bank balance would be a lot healthier and I could retire very early. I still wouldn't be doing the stand-up tour uncool.
So between Lola Kutty and Anu Menon, who would win in a roast battle?
Lola Kutty. Also because my mother to this day says Lola rocks but Anu sucks. So I said thanks. Thanks, Mama. I appreciate it.
You played so many characters. And if you were to be stuck in the elevator for 6 hours, who would you survive with and who would you not survive with?
If I had to be stuck in an elevator, with anyone?
Yeah, with one of your characters.
Oh God, who would I? No, I think I would survive with all of them. It would be like a round table chat. But like lift lullabies or something. I think we'll put each other to sleep. In theatre, I never do funny characters on stage because I feel like, anyway, that's my purpose. I do stand up for the funnies. But my theatre characters are always either serious or a little boring even. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that that leap. Yeah.
If you were not Lola Kutty, what would you be?
I feel I would have made a good lawyer. Because I come from a family of lawyers. So I feel like, I maybe with a flair for the dramatic, I could have, Milord, and I, just played out in my head. I could have made a decent lawyer, but who knows now? It's too late.
And your followers and fans notice your enthusiasm for sports also, as reflected in your social media.
Yeah.
So, what is it, football or cricket?
No, cricket. Cricket and tennis are my two. I do like football. Like, I've gone for 2 World Cups. I've gone to South Africa and I've gone to Qatar. But I like country sport. Like, when it's a World Cup, I enjoy that atmosphere a great deal. And the weird thing is my husband loves sport and I love sport. But my son cannot stand it. And, like, I'm a rabid sports enthusiast. And I realized it's because, like, I'm constantly screaming at the television. And so I think my son has grown up in that atmosphere and thinking, ye mere ko nahi chahiye. So I've gone to the French Open. We made a whole trip to go to the French Open just to watch Rafa. And that was the last year he won. And then my husband was like, now what? I said, I've got everything I dreamt about. Now what do I dream about? I need a new dream now. Because, like, once I met my friend at the CCI club and there was the whole... it's a cricket club of India. And so then the whole bunch of photos on the wall of past Indian cricket captains. And she stopped at Rohit Sharma and she said, who is he? Is he famous? And I thought, wow. Like, just wow. The fact that, like, you live in this universe happily, like, I aspire to that, It's amazing.
How did your parents influence you, especially from the ad world?
So because my parents were in advertising, there was never sort of that South Indian pressure of be a doctor, lawyer, engineer kind of thing, right? And because of the atmosphere that I grew up in, everyone was funny and satirical and initially thought that I would also, as a natural progression, get into advertising because it was in my blood and my parents were in advertising. Theatre happened when I got on stage and then I took a gap year after college and then I acted with the Madras Players. So I acted in a few productions and then I actually sent a physical tape to drama school. So one of the Madras Players members, his name is Chetan Shah, he directed the whole thing for me. And he was really lovely that he didn't charge. So I had to send in a Shakespeare monologue, a modern monologue, do, I think, a poem, like a sonnet, do a song, do a dance, like put this all together. It was almost like, the whole village came together to send one of their own to drama school. So it was really lovely. So my mum said, look, if it's something you really want to do, I think you should go for it. Because I was like, how am I going to... She said, yeah, just if it's something you love, I think you should pursue it. And I got a PATH scholarship. When you're that young, you don't overthink things. And I think perhaps that went in my favor.
And what comes naturally to you, acting or comedy?
I enjoy the theatre process. I enjoy the rehearsal process because also it comes from a place of pure love, right? Because you're not doing it for the money. And it's a nice break from reality. So I enjoy the collaborative nature of theatre because stand-up is solo, right? You're traveling on your own, you're writing your own jokes, you're trying it out. It's a more solo venture, whereas this is a shared sort of enterprise. So that I enjoy the rehearsal process a lot, and I enjoy learning from different directors, because each director has a very unique way of extracting a performance from you, or a unique vision, and you buy into that. And to figure out a new way of approaching a character and stuff, that I enjoy.
Any special mention of a friend or director that have impacted you?
I think all my directors, but I do Foizia Jalali. She's very movement based, so that she always pushes you. It's a far more hectic energy with the movement, so that I think is phenomenal. A good friend of mine, Nadir Khan, I've learned a lot from. I think it's a great director. Makes you feel very comfortable. So yeah, but everyone, I've learned a great deal from all my directors.
And where do you get your funny bones or humor genes from, mom or dad?
Both my parents are very funny. I think I've always been quite a sarcastic child. I have a note from a drama school friend of mine, this British guy, who said for my birthday card, I still have it. He said, "To the lacerating wit of the Indian subcontinent, happy birthday." And I thought that was just sweet. Yeah.
And are you Malayali by birth and Chennai girl by heart?
I would, I mean, I am a Chennai. I always say, I'm going home to Chennai because I grew up there. Of course, I've spent more time now outside of Chennai, but I go often enough, and my parents live there. And, it's that in-between phase. Like, you're not fully one thing or the other. And Bombay is an immigrant city, and I love Bombay. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. The older you get, you realize you're just a collection of so many more things, I enjoy it. I like watching Malayalam cinema a lot, because it also keeps me in touch with the language and things like that. So that I appreciate.
How many languages do you know?
English, Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi and French, because I studied till my Diplôme supérieur d'Alliance.
Yeah.
And I can manage in Gujarati. So, yeah.
So do you ever watch your own videos, or even does your family watch, and what do they have to say?
I hate watching myself.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. It's just torturous. So I have no proper perspective sometimes. Because also, sometimes when you're editing something, your own work, you lose perspective because you live with it for so much longer, right? So my husband is always my feedback sort of person. There are a close couple of people I'll send something to and say, what do you think? Especially with a stand-up special, because like 1 hour, you've just lost perspective, of what is funny anymore.
Yeah.
So it is a bit difficult.
But, yes, you also, I noticed for 1 hour you spoke without, I can't do it. I need some guidance. And you actually prepare a lot before stand-up. And, it's there in your memory.
Yeah, I go through my sets. See, the thing is, because I was in Kochi on Friday, I was in Hyderabad on Saturday, and in Bangalore on Sunday, right? So then that is the practice every day. But otherwise, before a show, I go through my whole set. Like, I stand in front of my mirror and I do it. Yeah. You got to practice so that people believe that it's coming naturally.
Yeah.
Right? I've got to practice in order for it to come naturally in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Right? So that's only because you have to put in that work.
If you're married to someone who's not a South Indian, does the coming together of different culture give you fodder for your jokes?
Absolutely. It is very different. But the hilarious part is, my husband looks very South Indian. Yeah. The truth is, he went to study marine engineering in Chennai. It was just a little outside Chennai. And he said after he graduated, I'm never coming back to this city again. And then ironically found a girl who grew up in Chennai. I remember once we were traveling to the Gulf, and at Bahrain airport, he said, this guy is Mallu and all, you just ask him something, baby. So then that guy looks at me and looks at Anirudh and said, my God, like, I thought your wife is Malayali. I thought she was a foreigner. I thought you two were definitely Indian. But my God, madam. And he was like, wow. Your own people don't recognize you, Anu. I got at Kochi airport, and there was this guy who came up to me and said, excuse me, are you a foreigner? I was like, no, I'm Malayali. He said, I'm mad at the foreigner, which means I saw your curly hair and I thought you were a foreigner. So I said, of all the places where curly hair should make me seem like a local, would be the great state of Kerala. So, yeah.
How do you juggle with family and work assignments? Like you said that you plan according to your son's...
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you've just got to come to the realization that you're not going to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm not going to be at all places at once. Like, people say, oh, you should be far more prolific with stand-up. And you're right, I should. But the truth is, I cannot travel for 2.5 hours a day at night to try 10 minutes of material. There are lots of things I can't do. And also, where I live, it's pretty far from the comedy clubs. Now one has opened in town. But otherwise, those are sort of things that you have to realize that, okay, you can't do it. I should be writing far more than I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not in a funny space. Sometimes you're not in the mood to, right? Sometimes life comes in the way. You have parent-teacher meeting. You have to send them a birthday party. You have to, there are just life happens.
Yeah.
So I think make peace with the fact that you cannot be all things to all people, and don't stress yourself out and kill yourself, trying to be this perfect role model. This idea that's been fed to us that, oh, women can have it all. Yeah, we can. But also choose wisely, Because I always say, sometimes you're busy living a real life. You have no time for your real life, right? So, yeah.
Do you also workshop your material at home? And is your family your sounding board?
So it's weird because I'm clearly doing something that no other mother in his class is doing, right? So for whatever reason, for this short time period, I'm considered the cool mom, right? I do make my husband read it and I read it out to him. So that's my initial sounding board. Yeah, but that's about it. Like I always ask, is there a future here? But then you got to try it out yourself. So in all sets, I feel like there are some jokes that are just for you. Like it doesn't get the kind of reaction you would want. But for some reason, I find it really funny. So I just keep it in, right? A pop culture reference or something that will work. So you need that to prop up your set or whatever your style is. I don't, like I say, it's not some deep dive into, the dark recesses of my soul where I'm like, oh, these tragic things happen. That's not who I am as a personality type.
So what is the favorite movie you watched with your son?
So we went to watch The Wild Robot.
Okay.
And we are both quite emo people. And we're both crying with 3D glasses and we're both crying and holding on to each other. So yeah, it was a lovely movie about a robot that develops human feelings. And we enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah. And what do you pack for lunch for him? Do you? Or does he have a say?
So in the sense I have to pack 2 boxes because one is a snack box for the other kids in school. So essentially I'm buying a lot of snacks for the other kids in school, right? And they get lunch at school, but we also have this pressure of packing only healthy snacks.
Yeah.
So I'm scouring stores online to what new healthy snack should be.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased to mention, I don't mean to show off, but I have been called the queen of snacks. Yeah, apparently I earn snacks the best. I mean, maybe if I like you, but that isn't enough. So they said, Mama, this 9th grade boy walked into my class and said, who's Ayan Mehta? I heard he has a great snack box. Open it. I was like, my God, I'm thrilled.
Your personal fashion choices are really amazing. So what are your fashion preferences? How do you shop?
I hate, like with a passion, going into a physical store.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot tell you, like my insides start churning. Like I hate it. I see a line in front of the dressing room, I just go mad. So for me, I find it almost soothing to just shop online. For 2 years in England, because of the weather, you're only wearing pants, right? You're wearing like stockings underneath, you're wearing pants and jeans. So I was like, bas, bahut ho gaya bhai. Now I'm just going to, so I can wear dresses and be fine. So yeah, I'm more of a dress person. But I think my femininity ends with wearing a dress because I don't have a hugely feminine personality, I think, like warm and fuzzy vibes are not something that people get from me very easily. Like I like but also my mother dresses up incredibly well. So next to my mother, like I'm like one sadgi ki murti, like the staff at home look at me sadly in Chennai like, oh, you're not going to match your green sari with a green necklace and a green earring and a green bag and a green. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry. But yeah, I do love saris a great deal. So my plan in life, and this has been my mission, is to get the traditional sari from every state in India. So for me, I'm only struggling with the Northeast a bit. It's only got from Assam. So now my mother-in-law started this thing. When she wants to clean her cupboard, she'll just give me her saris. And now there's no place in my cupboard because now they're full of her saris. And she gave me the biggest compliment, I think. She's like, Anu can manage all day in a sari. I can't. I was like, because for my son's annual day functions, I used to wear saris and go and my mother-in-law was wearing pants. So everyone is like, ulti duniya chalti hai unke ghar mein. So yeah, and so she can't even complain now. The aajkal ki bahu very modern because it's clearly not the case in mine.
So you make others laugh and de-stress. How do you de-stress yourself?
I love watching a mindless show, if I have to. Like a rom-com. I would love to watch that. I watch a lot of Korean drama, but sometimes you don't want to concentrate on the subtitles, right? So, or I will rewatch stuff that, so it doesn't matter. Like I can just listen to it and then I'll do my nails or something, right? But I can watch any terrible rom-com. Or, there are these horrible Christmas movies. They are really bad. The acting is bad, it's low budget. I don't know how it got approved, but I can watch it. I can watch it. I recently watched the Mehta Boys that Vaman directed. The thing is, I'm a solid crier. So the problem is like on an aircraft, I start crying. Then I feel like, what will the person next to me think? They'll take the tissue and go and stuff. And they'll think it's because the food is terrible. No, it's just, I cry very easily. But I do also watch a lot of stand-up. My all-time favorite is Joan Rivers because I just think, she was fabulous. Like till 85, she was wearing, 5-inch heels and telling jokes on stage. It's amazing to me. I also like Dave Chappelle a great deal. I like Bill Burr. And I also enjoy watching older specials, I love watching, women's perspective is very different. So I enjoy seeing what they have to say.
When you're not working, what's your day like?
Very lazy. Like in the sense I have to get up obviously in the morning to send my son to school, then I'll go to the gym, I'll come back, I'll either watch something or I'll try to write something. Then there's the Amazon guy who will come, some OTP, something has to be purchased. I have to buy a black suit for my son's annual day, black shoes to get a tie. That's just life. My happiest time is when I have to make out invoices. It's my happiest time. If there are no invoices I have to make out, I feel very down on myself.
I personally miss the friendly, not so friendly competition between Channel V and MTV.
Yeah.
Do you miss that too?
It's so funny because people always believe that there was like this huge rivalry and all. To this day, I still say yes because I'm told all the time, hey, Lola Kutty from MTV, I'll say yeah. Because why correct them? It's like Xerox, right? It's like MTV just became a patent for music television in totality. But my favorite incident I remember once was, I think during Cyrus Brocha's Bakra used to go on then. And Channel V just sent a bunch of goats to the MTV office. So suddenly the MTV was just full of goats. They were like, what happened?
So what's your biggest learning from the theatre training that you took in the UK?
Biggest learning is character development. How you approach a character. Like everyone has to take out what system works best for them. So when I approach a character, I will always try to give the character a backstory. So whether it is where you grew up, what your parents are like, what your star sign is like, what are your hopes and dreams, what do you feel one remembered moment of happiness or sadness, what did you not achieve that you wanted to. Now all these things the audience is not going to get from my lines, but I feel it's important to give a backstory in order to flesh out that character for yourself. And I do feel somewhere it seeps in through the performance. Absolutely. Is there any physical take? How does she hold the cup? Is she noisy? Is she clanky? Is she gentle with it? How does she sip a glass of water? Like those things I feel give it a lot more life. And give it a roundness. When you're playing it also, I think it benefits. So I think that system has been put in place. Like this list of questions that I ask myself for the character. And
you chose theatre over films. Did you get a lot of offer back then?
A lot of times I've been stereotyped as well because of Lola. They expect me to look like that, and then they see me, they're like, oh, it's, she looks too, because now the way I look now, I look too modern to be a stereotypical South Indian person in a movie, right? Or in a series or whatever. And I enjoy theatre because I feel like there's a natural progression. You start at the beginning, you go to the middle and you end at the end. Whereas when you're filming, you're like doing one scene, 3/4 of the way through, then you go back to the first scene, then you come, you know what I mean? So it's a lot more staggered in that sense. I mean, I would love to do more, but the ones I always get a call for, and I keep saying this, is the posh South Bombay lady. So if it's a posh role, we'll just call Anu to do. And I still didn't get that role. Once I auditioned for a role of a Malayali woman who was from Chennai, who had an 8-year-old son, and I was like, my God, this isn't me. Did not get it. I was so bad at being me. I didn't get the role. It was really soul crushing. But yeah.
And being a theatre student and artist, you must have seen how difficult it is to sustain oneself. What was your own personal experience in theatre?
Look, for me, the stage, I've always loved the stage, right? It's like I find it a sacred place. Every country you go to that you perform, there's something very welcoming about the stage, I think. There is that musty theatre smell. It's like when you go to an old library, you know, like that smell of books. It's just very welcoming, I find always. So for me, stand-up was an extension of my stage life. But also when I wanted to do it, I was pregnant at the time and I didn't think it was possibly the right time to, or maybe India, it was too much to have a big belly and be on stage. Of course, it's different now, but at that time. So I enjoy the stage. It's always, it's the closest to my heart, you know. Yeah.
And even Wonder Woman in 2019 was deeply personal. This can be a very vulnerable experience also. And how were you able to overcome any hesitations or nerves that you may have felt?
So all my jokes, so when I write comedy, I am a story comedian. So they're all things that have happened to me. Like I say, all these instances are not some things I've made up. They've actually happened, right? And of course, like I say, you embellish and exaggerate it. But, and because of my theatre background, I always feel it's a lot more act outs. It's a lot more physical. But that is generally my style of comedy. And when you're writing, you're right. When you're writing this, and it involves other people, it's not just about me, right? Because I'm talking about, but I do believe I'm an equal opportunity offender. I talk about everyone, so no one can get completely said, oh, you spoke about her more than you spoke. No, I've talked about everyone. So mummy can't say, oh, you only talked about me because mother-in-law ke bare mein I've also talked about. So both sides can be. Yeah. So like once, like I wore a sari that my mother-in-law gave me, and a necklace that my mother gave me. I said, my God, Anu, you got it going on. You know. So, so it's how you introduce these people and also protect them in your story. So I always feel that it's a fine line. So when people always message sometimes and say, oh my God, how are you making fun of your son? Oh, how are you making fun of... But I feel if my immediate family is okay and I'm talking about them, then that's all that matters. Then I don't feel like, you know, Falana Dimkana sitting in Bhatinda has an opinion on, not that he's watching my comedy, but in Bhatinda. But that shouldn't have to worry you, because honestly, everyone takes offense to everything. I can say good morning and you'll take offense to my tone, right? But I'm just amazed actually that if I don't like something, I would not take the trouble to tell that person I hate it. I would just move on, no, to something. But the fact that you're doing it, how much time do you have? And it's also a generation that talks about, oh, be kind to each other, mental wellness, cancel culture, fat shaming, you can't use that word, oh, these are my pronouns. So on one hand, you say all these things, and on the other hand, you're like, oh, hate your jokes, not funny, joke kahan hai? You know, like just shit like this.
I always wondered what it must be like to climb up on stage and tell the jokes. It must be such a dynamic process, right?
Like I'm always nervous before getting on. You know, you have this existential crisis before getting on stage. What have I done? Maybe I should have been a banker. I should have just stuck to law. What was I thinking? No one's going to laugh. It's going to die. It's a terrible thing. Maybe my jokes are not funny. You know, so you have like all these 100 thoughts just before you go on stage. And then you're like, hi, good evening. Yeah, I mean, but I guess that's the...
Have you understood the audience and what's your relationship like?
Each city has a different audience. So I can't, like, there are some cities where a certain joke will work better than in other cities, right? So a lot of times you feed off the audience. A lot of times you have to self-generate that energy. A lot of times the audience comes to you. A lot of times you have to go to the audience. Like sometimes it's like, it's not the audience is not enjoying it, but they're more like a as opposed to a ha-ha, you know, like there's a titter as opposed to a guffaw, you know, so that's the difference I feel. And sometimes they don't laugh too much at the end of the show. They're like, my God, you killed us. Oh, it was so funny. I was like, oh, you should have laughed a little louder then, so I knew that.
Crowd work is the most complex thing in stand-up comedy, and how do you handle that?
I've never done a full crowd work. I admire people who do complete crowd work. This is for me. I want to write jokes and tell you the jokes. Of course, I'll interact with an audience, but at the end of the day, I've come armed with jokes. So a lot of times people feel very nervous, you know, in certain cities to talk back, or that the comedian is going to insult them, or don't sit on the front row. And I think all these are very passé terms. Like, because we are not here. I'm not come on stage to insult you. I'm having a small chat. I'm just having an interaction so that it's a back and forth process. Otherwise, you're just listening to me constantly, right? So here it's nice to ask a question, get a response, and then say, okay, actually, this is what my experience has been, or whatever, as a lift-off to your next set. So, you know, you always want to reassure the audience that I've come with my jokes. You don't need to worry. I don't need to make fun of you in order to make jokes, you know. I have my own.
Was there any live situation show that caught you off guard, and how did you deal with it?
I was once told... and I was supposed to do a show for this ladies club, and I was told just before I went on, yeah, you'll do it in Hindi, no? I said, have you met me? Like, you're asking Chennai to do it in Hindi. Like, few things you can, but you're not going to be able to do that. And on the fly, I can't translate, no, in my head.
Yeah.
So my timing was completely off, like in this thing. And midway through, I was like, hang it, like it's not working out, you know? So I just changed it. But yeah, that was the most sort of, big jhatka just before going on.
Yeah.
I'm not a political comedian. I've never been a political comedian. I've always been a story comedian. And I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future. So, like, I admire when people say, oh, petrol prices, like I have no joke about petrol prices. So I enjoy political comedians because for me, I can't make jokes about it, not because of fear of death or anything, but just because I don't find the funny in that subject. You know, you just get worked up about it. So I admire people who can find the funny in that through line and crack that joke. So for me, that is brilliant because you always like to see a strength in someone else that you know you don't have. You know, it's a great thing.
So nostalgia is a very tricky thing. It's comforting, but also runs the risk of making us stay locked in an ideal past. As a comic and as an artist, what is the tension for you between constantly innovating?
So a lot of, like I said, a lot of people, sometimes I was given this feedback of, we wish you'd put in a few more Lola-isms or, they remember you from something else. So they're like, oh, a little more Lola mannerisms or a Malu reference or an accent or whatever. So for me, I know that is maybe what they would like to see more of, but I don't want to always be stuck in that rut, right? So I have moved on for that. Of course, when I'm doing a story about something Malu or what, then I will reference it or do the accent. But otherwise, I don't believe that it's necessary because that's not who I am right now. And what I'm talking about has nothing to do with that. So maybe in my next show, if I feel the need or it's about, my travel somewhere or whatever, then that would entail me using a certain accent. But you want to evolve as an artist. You want to take that step forward and not just stay in a comfort zone of this is what I'm known for. So I'm always going to do a Malu accent all my life, right? So that's not how you grow either.
And what about Vigil, Aunty? Was there any reason that you took up this campaign? Because it had a meaning behind this.
I thought it was a great idea. I think the fact it was called Vigil, Aunty, and it was like a pioneering effort by HDFC Bank in order to have a character that represented or was a through line to tell you about all the frauds that are going out there, but in a fun manner as well, right? Because most of the time I feel people can accept unpalatable truths when it has a dash of humor. So that's important. Of course, there is also an emotional slant to it where, there are sad stories and stuff, but I thought it was a great concept. And the fact that, I auditioned for it. They said, will you send in an audition? And then they said, no, you'd be the best person for the job. And I was very happy because we won we came second at Cannes. We got a silver at the Cannes Lion for the campaign. So we were very pleased. But then my father-in-law was very unhappy that I got no cash prize. He's like, cash prize, nothing. I was like, no, khali cake kaj. He's like, yeah, it's only a cake that came to say congratulations. I was like, I'm disappointed, the good Jules. Silver at Cannes, it's not good enough.
In your experience, how has the comedy landscape changed over the years?
So many more players, so many more interesting voices, so much more risk is being taken. The kind of audiences also, there is an audience for every kind of joke. I don't know, it's a difficult time, right? So you honestly don't know what joke you can crack that won't offend someone. Like my friend Rahul, back in the day, I think a few years ago, cracked jokes about DJs and the whole DJ community came after him. It's not really something that you would have, foretold. Like the DJ community hates me and have filed FIRs. So that is the precarious time that we live in. But what do you want to do? Like you just have to, I think, ride that wave and in terms of, I just find there are so many more women, which is fantastic. And that's always great to see because I feel a different perspective. Like everyone has a different perspective, right? And that is what makes a comedy culture and a comedy community so much more appealing. Is that my view and your view looking at the same thing are completely different.
So I'm also curious about the community of comics. When you started off, how was it? Did you have supportive friends? Did you make a lot of friends? Was there a WhatsApp group?
I do. All the female comedians actually have a WhatsApp group. So women in comedy, we have a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
I always make fun that I'm comedian who's always in retirement. Yeah, in retirement I come out. In retirement I come out. I go hibernate for some time and then I come out. So, but yeah, I have some great friends in comedy. Saurabh Pant is a very good friend of mine. Like, I've known him from Channel V. So we're always sending each other something about sports, like this has happened, that has happened. Did you see this reel? Did you see what Pat Cummins did? Did you see what this one said? So we're always going back and forth. But yeah, I have a great bunch of friends, yeah.
And let's move to the community of audience. Are there any changes in the audience for comedy in India?
Look, it's a tough one. Like, for example, if people are coming, if it's my special, for example, like yesterday, it was my special, people are coming to watch me. Meaning they follow me from somewhere, they know me from somewhere, they're invested in the kind of comedy I do, which means that they're with me for the ride. Yeah. So the chances of them saying, oh my God, Anu is a sucks, are not as much as perhaps if you put that video out into the world and then there are random people consuming it who are like, no, this is terrible, ye galat hai, hi, right? But coming to my show in a live environment is a very different vibe than just watching it on, because also you're capturing a live moment on video. I always feel that transfer sometimes doesn't happen as naturally as we would like, right? Because something is lost in that transfer. So if I'm, say, going out, if I'm trying some material at a comedy club, I get 10, 15 minutes and then there's a lineup of 5 comedians. So again, as an audience member, you have 5 different voices coming at you that, you like. And maybe you don't like all of them, which is fine because you're getting a potpourri, right, at the end of the day. So it depends on what we're saying. Are we saying that, if you're just going to a comedy club just for a night of laughs, or we're going for a particular show, which means that you know that person from before, and therefore the chances of you going are slightly less.
And do you think there's a line between satire and sarcasm?
I just feel you do you. You do what's comfortable for you. I think that is the difficulty here, that if I don't like something, I move on. I don't waste my time being offended and creating a hullabaloo over something saying that, how dare you? Yeah. But we can say, how dare you, or so many things. We'll never get through the day. So I feel like, can we just concentrate on what's more important than some random comedian's one-liner that you did not like? Yeah. And then therefore call into question his parenting, his humaneness, his lack of humanity, his pet dog, why are we doing this? Yeah.
Stand-up comedy and Indian sensibility, especially with politicians, what is your view?
So I think the easiest thing is not to talk about it, right? Or you shouldn't make any reference to it. But they were constantly living in fear of, we shouldn't talk about it. But at the end of the day also, look, nothing justifies violence, right? Whatever you say, nothing justifies going to a comedy theatre, a comedy venue with 100 odd people watching a show and then breaking it down, right? So nothing justifies that level of violence. Yeah. You're not forced to do this. You did it of your own volition. And that is scary. That is a scary space, that you're still talking about the joke as opposed to the violent act of breaking down a venue with 100 people sitting there watching a show. That is where, as performers, everyone feels vulnerable, right? Like, then you're like, oh, you don't want to do this anymore. What am I doing with my life? Can I not talk about anything? Can I not bring up... Everyone feels passionately about something, whether it is bad roads, whether it is, something an MP said, or whatever it is, your right to say it. And I'm not saying, but you're also not just insulting someone. No, it's a joke cloaked in something. There is some layering in that. We're trusting you to take decisions with our money and with, laws, and you're in a position where you're not taking a joke, right? So, and I think to give it so much importance, just let it go. Yeah. There are other things to worry about on your, in your list, in your portfolio.
Humor comedy often gets cringe nowadays. How do you maintain the class and beauty in comedy?
I always say, just stay authentic to who you are. If you are a flannel shirt and jeans wearing person, that is who you are. Yeah. I'm a dress wearing person, and that I will go on say, because I feel like I want to dress up like I'm going to perform. Like it is a performance, and therefore I will dress up well, feel good about it, and go on stage. But that is not everyone's way. Who you are, how you want to do it, there are no rules here. It's also a very nascent industry in India. I think people fail to realize that. It's a very young industry that suddenly I've got this great boom because of the fact that we are such a large population. There's a large NRI population. So many factors. Yeah. So all over the world, people are amazed by the rise of Indian comedy, right? Saying that, oh my God, we didn't realize there were so many people following us in India. And we're cracking jokes about politics elsewhere, but the Indian audience gets it, right?
And there's a lot of money and visibility now in the industry with OTT specials, big performances. So must be a great time to be on the scene also, right?
A lot of specials also got cancelled during COVID, you know, because there was so many of us signed up, and then the backlog was too much. A lot of people have difference. Like some people feel that YouTube videos work well for them, shorter videos as opposed to like a 1 hour special. A lot of people now just putting it up on YouTube. Reels are huge. Like the fact that those make the rounds a great deal, right? It's like 90 seconds, it's quick, it's easy. And sometimes a lot of comedians say that we feel that pressure to write a joke and perform it, and that's beginning, middle and end in 90 seconds, right? In order to make it a great reel that will go viral. I think everyone is looking for that viral moment, right? Because you don't know what will blow up. And you try different things. So a lot of people also get the help of AI, right? In terms of if you have to write a specific kind of, for example, if I had to write financial jokes. I mean, I've never used it, but I was told by my comedian friend that he had to write some financial jokes for a particular corporate show.
Okay.
He didn't come from a finance background. So he got the help of AI. I'm not saying it gives you a whole joke, but it gives you a different way of thinking that will help you construct a joke on your own. So, or refine it. So I think it does help. Like I saw an interview recently of this screenwriter who said the script that I was working on for years, AI gave me a better one in a few minutes. And he says, so that is scary as well, right? Because you feel your job is then redundant. My thing is always, it is a scary space, but I don't see why we should be investing our own sort of mortality in the world, you know, in terms of a professional mortality, because I think it's here to help us as opposed to demote us and take us over, right?
What's next for you? Are you going to do world tour? What is it that you're planning?
No, as of now, I'm just going to chill for a bit after this first half of the tour and go get ready for phase 2, and also have to get back to writing. But most importantly, my son's annual exams are coming, which means that I will have to be studying.
Any performances abroad that have stood out?
I have done more plays abroad than we did. We went all over the world actually with this play on Gandhi. And I've said this earlier, but we were in London and the sound guy, the light guy, went to sleep and he started snoring. So, matlab, there was no change, was because usually in darkness you get ready for the next scene, right? So, मैं जाऊँ कि नहीं जाऊँ? Get ready because Jinnah is supposed to come, but now Sarojini and Nehru are still on stage. We are not going. And then, loudly, and then the audience also is like, I'm so sorry, is it something happened? You know, what happened to transfer of power? My friend saying, instead of saying 50 lakhs, he said, we sold the country for 50 rupees. I was like, 50 rupees? So, and then we started laughing on stage uncontrollably. So, yeah. But I think the snoring was, for me, my all-time favorite.
Yeah. For struggling comedians, do you have any advice?
What I've realized is my audience is a lot of older people come. And they don't necessarily consume social media the same way younger people do, right? Because our audiences are so different.
Any promising stand-up comedian that you've noticed recently?
There are so many other. I like Uruj Ashfaq a lot. Like from the beginning, when, you know, she just started, I really find her very funny. Like also it was so hard to keep up because there are so many, you know. But Uruj I've always really liked. Yeah.
Nice. When was the last time you learned something new and what was it?
Just last night, that Mexican restaurant. His name is Komal, right? Yeah, which means like a tava in Spanish. See, that's something new I learned yesterday. Yeah.
Rapid fire?
Oh dear, rapid fire.
Okay. Favorite childhood memory?
My grandfather buying me an Easter egg from the Taj every year.
If you had to eat one thing daily for the rest of your life?
Appam and stew.
One unpopular opinion?
I think Coldplay is overrated. There, I said it. No, I think the lights and all are great. Okay. I'm like, yeah, theek hai na. Why do you need to apologize for colonialism? like to make us feel good. Oh, I'm so sorry you're accepting me, even though my country ruled over you for 200 years. Oh, let me show Jasprit Bumrah on screen. Oh, he bowled the English bowlers out. Oh, wow, y'all are so great. Oh, my name, my band members, so-and-so is from Telangana. I am from Bihar. Pagal hai kya? Like, why do you have to ingratiate yourself so much? Like, you're great, you're so popular, it's a fabulous experience, everyone loves you. Chill, na?
If we randomly showed up at your house, I'd find Anuradha doing more.
Just call me Anu. If you could say Anuradha, I think one of my teachers would be like, no, ma'am, I didn't do it. Doing what? Watching something on my iPad.
Favorite place you visited?
Favorite place I've visited. We went to South Africa for the Football World Cup and to this day, it's a place I find so beautiful because this girl came up to me, gave me a hug, and she said, this is the birthplace of humanity and I'm so happy you're here and I hope you come back home again. And I just started crying. Like, my God, no one is... Because, so many people have converged in South Africa, so many foreigners because of the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I think it was, it was just a lovely vibe.
So you cry a lot, huh?
I do. I'm a bit of a crier. I apologize. Yeah.
Weirdest fan encounter ever?
This girl had, I don't know if it's weird, but she came to say that her boyfriend loved me and her boyfriend was too shy to come up to me. So therefore, can I just stay here for 2 seconds and call him over so that he'll feel better about coming? It's like how close can he stand? That he was feeling awkward and all those things happen. And then I have to make a funny face, or because I'm a terrible person at photos. I can't look glamorous.
If you had a superpower, what would it?
Traveling. Yeah, if I could just, trust is a very humble superpower. Okay, so just travel non-stop. I have enough, like someone can fund my travel and I will be, without having to be a travel influencer.
What is the stupidest advice you've ever got?
The only thing I've been told lately is, like, don't tell that person the truth or don't bring it up. Just forget, like push it under the carpet. Like, I feel it'll fester.
A fangirl moment when you met a celebrity, maybe even a cricketer?
Yes, so I I got very excited when I had to do a red carpet. And I met everyone like Yuvraj and Zahir Khan and all that. But when Mohammad Azharuddin came, I was so excited. But I was super excited because obviously when you're you see someone when you're a child, your response is very different because you go back to, oh my God, it's Mohammad Azharuddin. So I got very excited by that.
Last text message your mother sent you?
How was the show last night in Bangalore?
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. Ever had a comedy stage related dream or nightmare? What was it?
No, not a stage nightmare, but of course you've had bad dreams that the show went terribly. But that's about, it's not very dramatic. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.